right, welcome back to another episode of Life Between the Six with Cody Cropper. Another round of predictions, and
Yes.
Eli is still here. How's it going, sir?
It's good to be back. Long time no see.
Yes, long time no see indeed. It looks like you had a little bit of a wardrobe change there, no? Or is that the same jersey as last time?
Same jersey, but I got to rock the new kit.
I love it.
I'm biased, so I put them as the best kit in MLS. But
Okay.
and I was people think I was biased for putting LAFCs at the bottom, but it is legit the grossest kit I've ever seen. In my opinion, it looks like I made fun of it on Twitter. I called it the barf times mucus kit. But a lot of people are calling it the smog kit, or I think that's what they're going with, and the smog I guess they want to showcase weed. As their jersey. So that's what they want to do. But to me, it looks like barf and it's disgusting. And if I wasn't a Galaxy fan, I'd still put it at the worst. But
okay, I respect that.
It was called the smoke screen skit for whatever it's worth. I don't know.
By the way, side note, I just looked at my phone and LA Galaxy completed the signing of Tyler Boyd today.
Yes, finally. He's been with us all preseason. So we knew it should happen. It was going to happen. I feel pretty good about it. It just kind of sucks that that's like the big signing of the offseason for us.
Right.
Because, we really needed to make some big international moves, especially with what we've given up this offseason.
For sure.
All right. Well, first one up, I think we should jump into, these are going to be the league, the competition predictions, as well as the individual awards of the season. So supporter shield is what we have to kick it off with. LAFC obviously won it last season. It was them and Philly?
Yes.
Right to the end.
Yes.
They broke New England's record.
Which was set the year before.
Yep. 72 points. So obviously they went on to win in a bit dramatic fashion the league.
Yes. But
neither of you care. You're going with Philly next season.
Yeah, I think it's Philly's year.
Do you know that they lost, what was it like?
They lost
the NFL, the MLB, the MLS, and like something else, maybe in the hockey championships last year. They had a rough
2022
year.
Was not their year. And I do think that 2023 will be their year. I just think that they are too good to pass on. And as long as Jim Curtin remains as the head coach at Philadelphia, because there is the speculation that he may or may not be, leave to go to the U.S. national team with Jesse Marsch if they hire Jesse Marsch. I just think if he stays, I think that they keep the ball rolling and this is their year.
Definitely. I agree with the supporter shield thing. For me, this team is built for the regular season. This team always, from front to bottom, this team has the best back line in MLS. There's no debate on that. And just for me and MLS Cup, and we saw them almost win it, but for me and the Philadelphia Union, it's always about, or just me and MLS Cup, it's always about, the star having his moment. And I'm not sure if, Philly has that star that's going to get that big moment for them. We saw it with LAFC and Gareth Bale. Your squad could only take you a certain point, but you just need that player that's going to reach the next level. And that's what we see in every MLS Cup winning team. But, maybe Daniel Gazdag continues to rise and he becomes that guy for them. And then obviously between the sticks, they have the star. But you need that guy that's going to go and get that match winning goal, that MLS Cup winning goal. It just sucks because they were so close to doing it. And I was there. I felt it. I was so happy. Jack Elliott about to happen. And then, of course, Gareth Bale does that. And it's funny because I dropped a video the day before MLS Cup being like, should LAFC even bother playing Gareth Bale in the MLS Cup? And
at least you got an answer,
You did get a definitive answer.
Always got to love when people respond to you personally. I should clarify, supporter shield is the most points won during the regular season. So
the traditional title.
Yeah, exactly. So your Premier League title, whoever wins at the end of the season with most points. But what do you get, Eli, with the supporter shield?
You get a shield and you pass it on to the next team next year. No one
any
really
advantages
cares.
in the playoffs?
Yeah, you get it. You get an advantage. Well, top seed in each conference gets a bye in the first round. It could either work in your favor or go against you, because what we saw in 2021 is the Revs got that bye, but because of the way the scheduling worked, I believe like 11 out of the 14 playoff teams were eliminated before New England played their first match, and that really ruined their chances because they were just too well rested. And but last year the scheduling was a little bit better. I think it had to be rushed because of the World Cup, and that helped LAFC. But obviously you get that home field advantage for the entirety of the playoffs.
All right.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the award?
I mean, in this league, it doesn't mean anything. You know,
It really
at the end of the day, it's who wins MLS Cup is who goes down as the winner of that season. And unfortunately, traditional methods don't really apply to MLS. I don't know if, and I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that traditional methods don't apply to MLS. I should just say that the focus is more on how the league is constructed here, and that is MLS Cup rather than Supporter Shield or, you know, the traditional winner.
This is just interesting. Philly won it in 2020 COVID year with 47 points. I was just looking at the past winners, and that was just been an abbreviated season,
year.
right?
That was
COVID year. So
Making sure. Columbus Crew won it in 09 with 49 points. So, but you know, less teams back in 09, so it's all very different. US Open Cup. Want to give me a quick overview on the Open Cup? Is this Lamar Hunt Trophy?
Yes, it is. It's the Lamar Hunt Trophy. It is essentially, I don't want to phrase this incorrectly, but I would compare it to like the FA Cup, where all professional teams have a bid to enter, and essentially the lower league teams kind of hack it out in the first 3 rounds. Then in come the big boys, MLS teams. And, you know, it's kind of just a winner go home tournament.
100 teams are competing at this. And I mean, it's teams you guys we have never heard from. They're in the National Amateur Cup, right? So there's amateur teams that are going to be competing against NPSL, USL2 teams, even the MLS Next teams, the USL Championship, and then MLS. I mean, this covers like the entire landscape of soccer. And who was it Sac City or Sacramento last season who like made Sac Republic, who made the big run?
Yes.
Which was awesome to see. And, you know, the best part about the US Open Cup is what they like to call the cup sets. And that's something you want to see every year. You want to root for the USL teams to beat the MLS guys. I was unfortunately there when Sac Republic knocked out the Galaxy. But you know, from that point, I wasn't salty about it. I wanted them to win it on. It's unfortunate that they didn't end up winning. And what sucks even more is how the final wasn't in front of Sacramento fans. I would have loved it to be a home match for them instead of at Orlando. I think that would have been really cool for the tournament.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with Earthquakes winning it? I mean, this has to be the biggest coin toss ever.
Yeah, it is the biggest coin toss, which is why like you can't really predict something like this tournament. However, I mentioned in the previous episode that San Jose is a team that I could see surprising people. They got a lot of young guys, and they're a very much improved team. And I say, you know, you're not going to go for MLS Cup this year if you're San Jose. Obviously, every team goes for MLS Cup, but like realistically, you're not going to. And I think if San Jose wants to get a trophy this year, I think the Open Cup would be a great bet for them. And I could see them, you know, maybe pulling off a run like a Sacramento Republic, even though obviously they're an MLS team and not a USL team, but sometimes they play like one. But
not wrong. Wrong. To me, yeah, this is always interesting. So like the MLS teams enter the competition like in the 4th round or something. All the small teams kind of have to fight themselves amongst themselves. You came up with Portland. I guess any rhyme or reason behind Portland?
Not really. I think that they are just an organization that may or may not be in a certain position at some point throughout the season where they realize they're not going to win MLS Cup or the Supporter Shield. So they might just turn their focus to at least getting a trophy. I think that there's a lot of pressure on Gio to produce some sort of trophy. this year because he has had the opportunity to essentially build the roster that he has wanted for years. And I think that the ownership group there may or may not be putting some pressure on him to maybe win something again this year. And like Eli said, it's a trophy that if you're not going to be pushing for MLS Cup or you're not going to be pushing for the Supporter Shield, it's one that I think a mid-table team or a team that is relatively comfortable in the playoff positions might try and win.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, fair enough. Orlando City, I wonder if they'll run it back. The next one we have is the CONCACAF Champions League, in case anyone was confused that we were talking about the Champions League earlier. Again, Eli, quick, brief overview. This is the CONCACAF, which everyone's usually familiar with, the World Cup qualifying as being our governing body. This pulls teams from those countries, but it's their domestic league teams. And so you've got a little bit of mixture of teams from a few different countries, which is just like the European Champions League.
Mm-hmm. And now that LAFC has won MLS Cup, I see them, going for this trophy on top of anything else, kind of like a Seattle. This LAFC is a team that was very close to winning the CONCACAF Champions League a couple years back. And, I see them going all out for this. So that's why I picked them to win. I'm being biased. And in my Liga Mekis versus MLS competitions, I just went with MLS winners. But I understand why Cody may think or might go a different way. But I think out of the MLS teams, I see LAFC absolutely going for this and potentially winning it this time.
I would agree, actually. If an MLS team does win it, I think it will be LAFC because they have, like you said, they have now won the Supporter Shield. They have won MLS Cup. And I think that this is the one trophy that they will be kind of, quote unquote, starving for.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I was going to say, isn't Seattle the first MLS team to win it?
Correct.
And it was just last season, right?
Yes.
So it was a big deal, obviously.
It was a very big deal.
We all sat there for a long time wondering if it ever happened. Is this one of those things, Eli, now the dam is broken, we've gotten the kind of weight off our back, we've broken through, we can go out and repeat? Or is it just Liga MX they've got good teams, good players, that's why it's tough?
I mean, it will always be tough, but I think definitely Seattle opened the doors. And I think, this LAFC team might be better than that Seattle team. I can't say I know much about what's happening in Mexico right now. I hate to admit it, but I kind of stopped following them as they got removed from FIFA. But I can't say too much about these Mexican teams. I could only really talk about how good this LAFC team is. And I think if an MLS team wins it, it will be LAFC.
You said non-MLS, Cody. Do you dare make a prediction?
On who? On which team?
Yeah, or you just
I'm just saying non-MLS. I'm going to stick with non-MLS. I do think Seattle won it by the skin of their teeth last year. It essentially cost them everything because they put all their eggs in one basket and they kind of went all for broke on Champions League. I'm not sure another organization in the MLS does that this year. So I think it may go back to Mexico and Mexico might a Mexican team might win it.
All right. Well, appreciate that. As always, the new one is Leagues Cup, right? So this was interesting for me. I was trying to figure out what was going on here. You and I talked briefly. About it, but they're calling it a monumental new chapter for North American soccer starting this season. That's right. Every single 47 MLS and Liga MX teams will compete in a completely reimagined Leagues Cup, an annual month-long tournament. So in the middle of the season, we're going to hit pause, right? We're just going to take a month off. We're going to bring everyone together. You've got 29 MLS teams and 16 Liga MX teams down in Mexico. And you're going to do a Champions League style team or competition. I don't know what to make of this. I immediately, Cody, think of player safety. Do they have enough rosters to play all these games? Because I was trying to see how many games that each team plays.
I think it's a guaranteed
3
games. because that's your group, right? You get 4 teams in a group, and then the top 2
Oh, we
advance.
know. I guess it's 2, or do they play each other twice? I think it's actually 3 teams per group.
Oh, is it 3 teams per group?
I think
thought it
so.
was 4. I thought it was 4 teams, and
There you go.
oh no, it is. It's 3 teams per group, so you only get 2 games. Sorry, we're all learning this as we go, because
Yeah,
a lot
which
of this,
it'll be interesting.
it will be very interesting.
But for me, on my perspective, in 2020, we had the MLS's Back tournament, and a lot of people enjoyed that tournament, at least fan wise. I don't know how much the players enjoyed being in that bubble or anything. Cody, you can maybe speak on that, but I loved watching the MLS's Back tournament, and I think if they could capture the same fun that was in the MLS's Back tournament with the Leagues Cup, I mean, they should, given it's, everyone loves MLS versus Liga MX. I'm really hyped up for this. I have no idea how it's going to go. I just picked a random team because I was asked to for this.
Okay.
But I went with Austin because I think, they definitely are a team ready to compete for a trophy. So I gave them this one as their trophy. I
think that's a good guess. I think that they are ready to compete for a trophy. However, for me, I think it's going to be a non-MLS team again with this one. I don't know what it is about these 2 tournaments this year. I just don't think an MLS organization is going to win either one of them.
All right. Well, did you guys see this video? So what they're trying to do with this is they're trying to be very, I think, like fan oriented and fun, right? So I think this is the competition where, 4 weeks across all 3 countries, Canada, the US, and Mexico.
One thing I do want to mention, I believe that none of the matches will be in Mexico.
Oh, interesting.
Well, so it includes teams from Mexico. So I apologize.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, I know. Obviously, the video said 3 countries, but I do believe that there will not be any matches in Mexico. Every match will be in the US, which might actually help the MLS teams. I hate how that's a thing, but it's a thing. I don't know why, but
that's if an MLS team does win, that will be an excuse for
absolutely
Liga MX to say, hey, this is one of the reasons you guys had.
Their federation agreed to it. It's probably cheaper. They got to earn more, whatever. There will be no ties. So it's kind of like hockey. If you do tie, you get 1 point. You immediately go to a penalty shootout. And if you win the penalty shootout, you get an extra point. Regulation win earns 3 points, though. So you can get 3 points, 1 point, or 2 points, or 0 points. And again, this will help you qualify for the CONCACAF Champions League. Look, credit for creativity, I suppose, right? Of like trying to add something different. Clearly they're trying to bring in, the North American soccer landscape tighter. Like I get that. But again, you already have the CONCACAF Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
The MLS already has the US Open Cup. The Canadian teams have the Canadian Cup. Like now we're just going to hit pause for a month in the middle of the season, do this. It's just, I get it. It's just a lot.
It's adding salt to the wound, if you ask me from a player's perspective, because it is just 2 more games or, the addition of 3 or 4 more games, depending on how deep you go in this tournament. And what is the result of this? Like, obviously, yes, you might be able to win, but the increased chance of injury, the increased chance of damaging what, might be a good point of the season for any specific team to just stop in the middle of the season and then go back. They might lose all their momentum. This is I think it's going to be a very interesting take. And I think it's going to be an interesting learning curve for not only the league, but the teams moving forward.
Yeah. We'll see. It's new. They're trying to make it fresh, trying to make it fan oriented. So we'll see how it goes, but very interesting.
Fan orientated in terms of like the waste management tournament, like where they can
just get hammered.
Just get hammered and run onto the course.
Probably not that
much.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think I hate to be that guy, but it's a money grabber tournament. They know that there's a ton of Liga MX fans in the US and they want to, showcase that.
Yeah. Definitely. I was going to ask you, do you have any predictions on the 2023 Canadian Championship?
No, I mean, who
No.
cares? No offense. But,
As a winner, Eli.
true. I know you're a winner.
I would love to see Vancouver do it again because it to go back to back would be something incredible for the organization. However, I could see Toronto maybe kind of pulling it out.
Well,
yeah, maybe if they want
a lot of Vancouver fans or ex-teammates are going to be upset with me about saying that. However, I think it's just a reality.
Well, mark me down for Pacific FC, my new favorite team I picked.
Hey, Pacific knocked out Vancouver 2 years ago. So,
and sorry to the Canadians out there crapping on the Canadian Championship. It's just, for me, it's like a 1-in-3 shot for an MLS team to get into the Champions League. That's how I look at it. But I'd love to see Forge, a team that made the CONCACAF Champions League, make a run at the Canadian Championship.
There you go.
Like that. But yeah, I personally don't care about it, but
understandable.
Have fun, Canadians.
Hey, it's my only winner's medal. I'm going to keep that one forever. So, hey.
W.
All right. The next one we have is the MLS Cup. We're going to predict on that one. Obviously, I've got the 22 bracket in front of us here. It's hard to predict this far out, right? So I don't think we really need to hold each other to account on this too much. I am excited you guys split. Cody, you are going with Philly, who you both have said is like, hey, it's Philly's year. Like, they've done enough. They've got the pieces.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, like, what makes you think that this is going to get them over, knowing that the playoffs are just brutal in the MLS?
Mm-hmm. I think last year, one of the key reasons that they missed out on winning was the injury to Alejandro Bedoya. He is obviously a very large part of their end product. And I am banking that decision is not just based on Ale being fit, but them being able to, again, put those pieces together and just it being their year. I think that everything kind of falls into place for them this year. And, Andre stands on his head and Ale's fit all the way through to the final and they figure it out.
Don't you think this team getting to the final and losing in such spectacular fashion is also like the hunger inside their belly? Whereas we see teams, like I can speak from example, when Chelsea won under Mourinho last, they came back next season and Eden Hazard was out of shape. Diego Costa's out of shape. Like, they'd won it. They are the Kings. They didn't have to try.
Yeah.
They are going to have the burning desire to kind of right that wrong.
For sure.
All right.
For sure.
All right. Well, that's Philly. You, Eli, you have Toronto. You're definitely putting all the chips in Toronto's basket this season.
Yeah. So I mentioned, with Philly and, having, you need the star to have the shining moment. And I see that with Toronto. I mean, they brought in Lorenzo Insigne and Bernadeschi. I mean, those two guys alone are probably two, if not the biggest names in MLS. But with the off season they've had, I'm very high on them heading into the season, as Cody is. But the reason why I picked Toronto, and I'm actually not convinced fully it will be Toronto, but in the summer of last year, I made a bold prediction that Toronto and LAFC would face each other in the 2023 MLS Cup. So I want to stick by that prediction. And for me, it's going to be between Toronto and LAFC. I'm not sure which team I have winning it, but I went with Toronto for this, just to, not have a repeat winner. And I would also hate to see LAFC win it again. But I think this Toronto side has something cooking this year.
I would agree with that. And Eli is clearly speaking this into existence at this point. So
I get it.
I support you in your efforts to do that.
Yes.
All right. Well, the last thing we have here is just some of the individual awards. We'll go through these kind of quick. But, I think it was worth just kind of throwing in because, again, if you don't hit a prediction, oh, well, no big deal. But if and when you guys hit predictions this season, we'll make sure to get these clips up and celebrate. Yes. So this is really for you guys. Most valuable player, Cody, you had Drusy from Austin, and Eli, so did you.
Interesting.
Can I explain my logic? Because it's weird. Okay, so in 2021, Carlos Heel won MVP. A lot of people thought Hani Mukhtar could have won it over him. In 2022, Hani Mukhtar won MVP, and a lot of people thought Driussi could have won it over him. So I'm saying in 2023, Driussi's going to win it. And I mean, he's got all the tools, and he just signed a major extension with them. I know that doesn't really play into it, but he's locked in with Austin for the long run. And I think this will be his year to win it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to go that far into it. I think Driussi is a hell of a player. I think, as you said, Eli, he has all the tools. I just think he's going to bag 15 to 20, and it's going to be his award.
Mm-hmm. All right. Golden Boot. Eli, you kind of alluded to this earlier. You had Cucho Hernandez with Columbus Crew. Cody, you have Agata from Kansas City.
Yeah. Agata had a very nice appearance or a run of goals before his injury. Is that correct? He was injured last year?
Yes. No, he was brought into the league. Sorry, he was brought in midway through.
Yes, sorry, you're correct.
He's a partial season player.
Yeah, he was a partial season player in a team that was not firing on all cylinders. And I believe Agata was part of the reason that they kind of made that end of season run, because he was able to get those goals and help the organization. As you said earlier, I think, or maybe in the last episode, it is going to come down to the battle between Polito and Agata, or the combination of those two playing together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then obviously you have Cucho Hernandez with the Crew.
Yeah, I mean, he was also a mid-season signing for Columbus. And when I went to Chicago last year, I saw him score his first MLS goal, and I just knew instantly that this guy was going to be special for this league. And, I think a full season of him will be extremely dangerous. I mean, he scored 9 goals in 1,300 minutes last year. I think he will be the far and away Golden Boot winner for me.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Both you guys, your Golden Boot person is kind of in the middle of the table as far as predictions go. You would think that the Golden Boot would be able to propel a team, but hey, it's MLS. You're in the top half of the conference. You're in the playoffs.
I don't think it really matters. Yeah,
that's all you need. Most assists, former teammate Gold father. Because geez, there he is,
the Scottish Messi.
Yeah. Yep. Which he'll probably have another big season with them again. And then you have Carlos Heel as well. So Eli, start with you.
I mean, for all the reasons that we've talked about before with New England and Carlos Heel, I mean, he is the best playmaker in the league. Was just an easy shoe-in for me. If he could stay healthy all year, I can't see anyone else racking more assists than him.
I completely agree. This was a tough decision for me, but I had to, throw one in for my former teammate. I think Galdi is one of the most underrated attacking midfielders in this league. Does not get the publicity that he deserves. I think he really creates a lot that goes under the radar. And I think that this year, with the signings that Vancouver has made, I think that the pieces could finally fall into place for him to have a individual award season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be big for him. Defender of the year, you both have Jack Elliott of Philadelphia Union. Cody, I'm telling Walker on you.
So Walker, I just think this year is Jack's year. Walker has had many great years. However, if I'm going to stick to my Supporter Shield and MLS Cup prediction, I have to think that the back line of Philly is going to be rock solid. And Jack Elliott really had a good year last year. His partner center back won Defender of the Year last year, but I think it will it'll flip to the other side this year.
That makes sense. And then from you, Eli, is it just because he's got such a good goalkeeper behind him with the shutouts, it just helps pad their stats?
I wouldn't say it's because of that, but for me, Jacob Glesnes won it last year, and in my opinion, I thought Jack Elliott was the better center back on Philly last year, and I was shocked when he wasn't a finalist for Defender of the Year and how Kai Wagner and Jacob Glesnes were put over him. So I think this should be Jack's year as well. Agreeing with Cody.
All right, goalkeeper of the year, we've got Aljaz Ivicic with Portland, and Cody, I guess you're going with Petrovic or Blake because as a goalkeeper, you can't decide.
I can't decide. I think
Petrovic is just linked with Manchester United. By the way.
so I was gonna drop that in there. I think the goalkeeping coach at New England has done an incredible job over the last couple of years with helping goalkeepers kind of, sharpen their skills. And I think them going out and signing Petrovic last year was a very questionable signing to a point. However, he came in and really, I think, shocked a lot of people with how good and how consistent he truly was. My argument and the reason that I have both of them, both Petrovic and Blake in there, is because Andre Blake for the last 4 or 5 years has really been the top goalkeeper in this league. And I think, again, if I'm going to stick to my supporter shield and MLS Cup prediction, he will be goalkeeper of the year because he will be on fire, and I'm going to ride or die with this.
All right. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to kick to you and say, well, obviously you're going Portland. For you have them kind of hunting for a playoff spot. Cody had them a bit higher as well. So I guess, your thoughts on Ivicic.
Yeah, so the reason why I didn't put Petrovic is because I'm expecting him to leave over the summer. We talked about the Manchester United interest. I think if he stays the whole season, he'll probably win it. I didn't go with Andre Blake just because we've seen him win it a lot, and I want to see someone else win it. I mean, Andre Blake is the best goalkeeper in MLS. That's just how it is. But Ivicic was a very underrated keeper last year for the Portland Timbers. And I think a lot of the reason why we didn't hear too much about him was because Portland wasn't in the playoffs, but every Portland fan raves about him. A lot of people considered him the third best keeper in the league last season behind the two that Cody mentioned. So I decided to go with Ivicic just because we've seen Blake do it so many times. And then because Petrovic was probably got out of here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's fair. Well, you doubled down with newcomer of the year going to Evander at Portland as well. It sounds like you're a Portland fan to me.
Well, I think if Portland is going to be a playoff team and they are going to have a resurgence, I think Evander is going to be the key piece in that. They did sign him to become the new Valeri, the new maestro. So that's why he's my newcomer of the year pick.
For sure. And then Cody, flipping to you, you have Ramirez at Columbus.
Yeah. And I know he's been in the league before. However, he left the league. He's coming back to the league. I think he has a year at Columbus that really thrusts him back into the spotlight of, his LAFC days, his early Minnesota days. I'm hoping that he can be up for newcomer of the year, but I'm not sure. However, I did want to put him in the running. And, my opinion, if he bags 10 to 15 goals, I think that it's an arguable, it's an arguable statement.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd love to see that. In my opinion, he's still Minnesota United's GOAT. So I would love to see him do that.
Yeah. I watched him for a couple years when NASL days up in Blaine. Got to see him when they had the atomic data kits and all that good stuff back before MLS ruined their kits. So young player of the year, you guys are of the same mindset with Thiago Almada of Atlanta United. So Eli, we'll let you get yours in to make sure that Cody can show his work on his answers.
I mean, just coming off winning a World Cup, which is just huge for the league, even if he had a very limited role for Argentina. I mean, he's expected to be the guy for Atlanta United, a team that I have hopes to make the playoffs this year. So I think, if they are going to be a playoff team, a lot of it's going to be riding on this youngster. And I think, he'll be a shoo-in for young player of the year if that's the case.
Yeah, I agree. I think with all of the pieces kind of seemingly coming together at Atlanta, I think his input on the field is going to be massive and is going to be critical in their ability to score or create and therefore score goals this season. Obviously we touched in the last episode on, the toxicity that it has been Atlanta United the past couple seasons. However, I think that they are in a new spot, a new light, shall we say. And I think Thiago Almada will be, as you stated, a shoo-in for Young Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, right. Next up is Manager of the Year. You've got Bob Bradley with Toronto.
Yeah. I just think that going from second to last to a top 3, top 4 team in the league, or in their respective conference, is going to kind of thrust his name into that conversation. In my opinion, it's a pretty simple answer.
Yeah, it just takes 2 Serie A players. No
Serie A players, one of the best goalkeepers in the league,
Yeah,
arguably one of the best defenders in the league for the last 10 years. I mean, they've got all the pieces, and whether you're going to put those signings, as his signings or somebody else's, he is going to reap the benefits.
So I did not go with Bob Bradley, but the reason behind that being, and I hate to be that guy, but thinking of Bob Bradley as like the MLS Coach of the Year in 2023 makes me cringe a little bit, just because of who Bob is. But no shade to him. I think he will be great, and I think Toronto will be great, and obviously he probably will win Manager of the Year, Head Coach of the Year. But I went with Oscar Pereira just because I think they'll be the next most improved team. I think Orlando will, at least in the regular season, be much improved from where they were last year. And I think, sure, they barely made the playoffs last year, but this time I think they're going to be solid as like a home field advantage team. And I generally like Oscar Pereira as a manager, but yeah.
No, I like it. And then last we have Comeback Player of the Year. Eli going with Miles Robinson of Atlanta United. Touched on him a little bit earlier. You had Casado or Krellick with Vancouver, RSL. So can I get a decision out of you, Mr. Kropp?
No, you cannot. I think that Krellick, we touched on it in the last episode, is a very talented player and a huge piece to RSL's success. That said, Diber Caicedo, I think would have been in the running for Young Player of the Year last year had he not gotten injured. And I think if he can come back fit and ready to go and play a role in what Vancouver will be able to do, I think he will be a shoo-in for this award.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that, Eli, before we get to Miles Robinson?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have the insight on Caicedo, and I'm not going to disagree with you there. I definitely love the Damir Kreilach pick, and I'm kind of ashamed that I didn't even consider him for this, but he is easily one of the most lovable players to watch. Like one of the most lovable people in the league.
He's a great person too, just like off the field, 100%. Super nice.
Yeah, what he does for that club, and the fans there. I know he has a whole section of just seats that he donates. But I went a different route. For some reason, the first player that came into my mind was Miles Robinson. Maybe that's the Syracuse bias in me. But he a year ago was a lock to start in the World Cup. But then, a big injury kept him out all year, made him miss the World Cup. So I think it'd be a great story for the league if he comes back and he's back to where he was before, because he was a top 3 to 5 center back in MLS before his injury. And I think, talking about Almada, I think if Atlanta is back in the playoffs, a lot of it will be riding on Miles Robinson as well, and how much he could lock down that back line.
Oh, that's great. We have so many stories, so many predictions here. Between just the regular season predictions, the competition predictions, the individual awards. I'm looking forward to it. I have a lot of stuff to now watch and see how these kind of narratives do happen throughout the season. I'm locked and loaded. Eli got MLS, my super pass on Apple TV. I've committed. So Cody,
I've not yet purchased mine.
You will hopefully get your subscription for free through the
through the league,
the players, the PA. But Eli, it's great. Again, links in the description to follow Eli around. Such a good brain on the MLS. It's so fun to see just how in-depth you go. Obviously, you take it a step further and don't just cover stuff. You do fun content. Obviously, you did the kits and kicks recently. and you rated all of the jerseys that came out. So again, it's such a good follow, but I'm sure everyone listening to this already knows, as you're at well over 50,000 followers on Instagram.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And it's great to catch up with Cody, someone I feel like I haven't talked to in a few years. But I love talking to MLS greats, and this was super fun. Love predicting things.
Yeah,
Awesome.
well, thank you as well. Obviously, if you out there had predictions, shoot them our way. We're at Life Between the Sticks on Instagram and TikTok. We'd love to stitch your predictions, or you can stitch ours and give us yours as well. We'll be loving it. So anyways, if you would, 5-star reviews, Apple Podcast, Spotify, helps us get seen. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well as social media. But we're out. MLS season is here.
It is. And I'm very excited.
We'll have a lot of content breaking down the games. It's a big day for Saturday. Block the calendars, gentlemen. It is here. All right. Well, until next time, we're out. Take care. Have a good one.